What's up, you amazing people? I hope you're having a fantastic day. You are, of course, watching and listening to the Daily Dirty 30, also known as the DDT, here on The Kevin Lee Show. And I am your host, Kevin Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know what the DDT is all about, let me take a moment to explain. You see, it's a show that airs live at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, and it's where I get to spend 30 minutes telling you, the viewer, all about the things that bother me today. What do I get out of it? It's easy. It's therapeutic. Why should you tune in? That's even easier. It's entertaining. Sound like a fair trade? Good. Let's get to it. Hello, friends, and happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. And of course, you are watching the Daily Dirty 30 here on the Kevin Lee Show. And of course, that would make me your host, Kevin. My goodness, my voice won't stop cracking. I hate allergies. Can I just tell you how much I hate allergies? So there are a number of things that we really need to get into today. That being said, well, first off, I want to, again, tell everyone a happy Tuesday, and I'm glad that you're here. I want to remind everybody that, indeed, things have gotten screwed up again last night, as they always seem to with technical difficulty, especially my audio. Everything was perfect. See, streaming isn't always everything is cracked up to be. And needless to say, I had some issues with my camera again, so I had to reboot everything. And when I did, I checked my audio to make sure that it had my default mixer, and it did, but apparently it only did it for output, not input. So my input came on my camera, which is like 5 feet that way, up in the air, and a tiny little microphone. So the audio quality wasn't as good as I might want it to be. But so it is what it is. So I made sure to check it. Hopefully it's good this time. And if it's not, I'm going to take a hammer, or such a sledgehammer, to my computer, and then I'll just have to get a new one. No, I'm just kidding. Computer's fine. It's not the computer issue. It's a me issue for apparently not double checking and triple checking everything. Because every time something happens like this and I have to go and reboot everything, I'm usually very good at checking to make sure that the audio and everything is the way it's supposed to be. And I did, and it did say my Zoom L8 was the default audio, but apparently that was only for output, not for input. And of course, when I'm talking through my microphone, I'm hearing it from my headphones come directly from my mixer, so I'm only hearing my microphone. So I don't know that it's actually coming from that tiny little pinhole size microphone over on my camera, which is mounted up there. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you, I recently made some changes, as you can tell. I don't have the camera any longer like right in my face. I kind of have it up in the air. I kind of like it this way. That way I can kind of look around and look at my one monitor, my other monitor, and do my things and do everything I have to do without feeling I have to stare at the camera the entire time. Because before I was here, I was staring at the camera and it was really annoying. So I like it this way. And I'm kind of curious to hear what you guys think. Do you like the camera this way? I mean, it's not like it's going to change my mind, but I'm just curious to know if you indeed like it or you do not. So, and again, I apologize for the audio. It was a technical glitch, but it was human error because I should have, like I said, I should have triple checked and make sure I went into the advanced settings to make sure that everything was lined up the way that it was supposed to. I was just so excited to get my show done and get it going, and kind of screwed up. Yep, I did. I screwed up. So I apologize. Hopefully that'll never happen again, unless it's happening right now, and then in which case it will happen again. But yeah, you gotta love technology, especially when it doesn't work, or at least not the way you're expecting it to work. Anyways, so enough of my apologizing about the audio. But again, my setup's different. I'm using different fonts. I'm using different, so if you look around the bottom of the screen right now, where it says "That said," or "What is wrong with my audio?" That's a different banner. Because I have choices, right? Like I can do that, or I could even do, where are we at here? I could do this. Now, this is the one I always used to use, and it is a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more whatever, and it's kind of cool, right? But I kind of like this one now. It's like bold and in your face, right? I don't know. So, like I said, if you're watching this right now, please comment or reach out to me or hit me up on Twitter at Kevin Lee Show, or at Kevin Lee Show, which is something that it's a pet peeve of mine, and it really shouldn't bother me, but it does. I don't know if you're like me, or if you do something like this, or if you stream, or if you have your own little podcast or show or whatever, but it's annoying when you can't get the same username for everything, right? Because I could have just gone with Kevin Lee Show for everything, but I wanted to be The Kevin Lee Show. But of course, with Twitter, I could have had The Kevin Lee Show because it wasn't like it was taken. The problem is that you do not get enough characters to put The Kevin Lee Show. So after I had everything else done, I had to choose to go with Kevin Lee Show. Either that or change everything else. And frankly, I didn't feel like changing everything else. But, I should actually recommend right now that you go check out my website. It's thekevinleeshow.com. It's thekevinleeshow.com. And when you go on thekevinleeshow.com, you will see that we have links to absolutely anything and everything you would want to know about me or the show or my other podcasts. And it's another thing too. I have to actually update it because I don't know how much I talked about this yesterday. I think I did. At least I mentioned it. But so late last week, okay, so I'll give a quick history. I had been doing this show, the DDT, the Daily Dirty 30, every day, Monday through Friday for about basically 2 months. And that's fine and dandy, but it was kind of getting me burned out for two reasons. One, the show had evolved into something that it was never designed to be, and that was like some pseudo news show type thing, and which was okay. Again, like I'm not complaining. It's fun talking about things that I find interesting, and I should. But it's like I feel like I had to put all this production into it, and I had slides, and I had video clips, and images, and pictures, and quotes, and it was just I had to run Google Slides to run the entire show. It was ridiculous. Like it's way too much work to do a fun, simple little podcast like this. So I decided that I needed to take a time out. Right, so I took a time out for a week, and that 1 week pretty much stretched into 2 weeks. Basically. And then last Friday I did like a, hey, look at me, we're back type of show, and kind of explain there's going to be some changes. One of the changes is that this is actually going to be what it's supposed to be, a podcast. And because of that, we are just going to be talking like this. I'm going to have, occasionally, very occasionally, I won't say rarely because it'll probably be more than rarely, but occasionally I will bring up a picture, right, and put it up on the side here, or a video if something huge happens, right? If there's something that we need to talk about and there's an image that should be captured or a video that should be captured or even audio for that matter that should be captured, I will play it. But that has not happened today. But mostly I just want to use these banners to kind of let you know what we're talking about. So as you're kind of, if you decide to scan through the show to figure out what we're talking about when, that way you'll be able to kind of see, oh, this is what we're talking about audio and this is what we're going to talk about blah, 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 or so be it. So like I said, there's some changes. And even then, like even on Friday when I did my show, I had no idea what I was planning on doing going forward. Like I figured, well, some weeks I'll do my show, Monday through Friday. Some might be 4 days a week. Even others might occasionally be 3 days a week. But then I decided, you know what, that's not fair. It's not fair to you, nor is it even fair to me. Like I'm doing this more stripped down version. So it's easier for me to do. It's not a lot of production. I just had to think about what I want to do and make up a few banners and go, hit start and get into it. So it's not like I can't do them, fairly regularly. But that being said, there's other shows that I've started, which is actually just what I was beginning to talk to you about. So I was talking to you about why. I'm losing my train of thought here. So I was talking to you about the Friday show, and then I was going to do what I wasn't sure what days I was going to do it, but I did decide I was going to do a couple new podcasts. I hadn't made that decision, and when I mean podcast, I mean like once a week type things, or maybe even once every couple of weeks. And they're kind of similarly tied in, but exact opposites, if that makes any sense. So the first one is going to be called Talking Sports with Kevin, but it's actually turned into Talking Sports with Kevin and Mikey. So that will be airing again. We did a show last week, so you can always check it out here. It's actually over on the Whatever with Kevin channel, so it's not technically on the Kevin Lee Show, but everything falls underneath the umbrella of the Kevin Lee Show, hence the thing behind me right there, boom. So I'm doing 2 new podcasts on Whatever with Kevin because I wasn't really utilizing that channel very much, and I want to, but I don't want to overdo it. So every Wednesday, we're going to be doing a Talking Sports with Kevin and Mikey. And needless to say, it's going to be a fun show, right? It's going to be laid back. It's going to be talking about local sports, big names in sports, important games, events that are happening, especially now with the whole COVID-19 going on. I mean, there's so much stuff that can be talked about, right? But we're going to talk about the basics. So like any sport that's continually going, like right now we have the end of baseball. So that'll be a hot topic. Obviously football is going to be a hot topic. Perfect example. There's supposed to be a game today against, New England and Kansas City, and now it's being postponed because of positive COVID tests. So things like that, and I guess, it was today, that was Sunday. I don't even know what I'm thinking about, but the game was postponed until, Monday or whatever. So yeah, so we're going to talk about those sort of things on Wednesday. It'll be me and Mikey. So it'll be fun. It won't just be me talking the entire time like I am right now. It'll be someone else. You'll hear another voice and another opinion. It's quite fun, but actually, technically, that'll be over on the Whatever with Kevin channel. But I will mostly be cross-posting it over on the Kevin Lee Show as well. So you can either subscribe over there, or you can just watch it here on the Kevin Lee Show, or go over to my website, thekevinleeshow.com. You'll be able to see all the latest episodes there, as well as links to all the podcasts, to all the video channels, everything, literally everything. And again, we're not just on whatever you're watching right now. Like maybe you're watching on YouTube, right? We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitch. We're also on Periscope. So we're everywhere. So wherever you want to see us, you can find us, right? No excuses. But again, now we're kind of getting into why everything's so complicated. So now, and there's another podcast I'm coming with called Talking Politics with Kevin Lee. And that actually will be mostly me. But I will have guests on, definitely, but it won't necessarily be the same people. So that's why it's going to be Talking Politics with Kevin Lee. So again, that will be on the Whatever with Kevin channel. But like I said, I'm planning on cross-posting most of that, at least Facebook and YouTube. Well, I don't know about YouTube. Maybe just Facebook and Twitch. Yeah, maybe we'll do Facebook and Twitch. Something like that. But yeah, so yeah, we got that going on. But now let's talk about why I'm claiming everything, or asking the question, not claiming, asking the question, why does everything have to be so complicated? My goodness. Pardon me. That's embarrassing. So why does everything have to be so complicated? The reason why I bring this up is because, like, perfect example, I'm using a simplified program to broadcast the show, right? They try to make everything simple, and they do a great job, right? It's called StreamYard. It's great, and this is not a plug for them, though. I do recommend if you are planning on doing some type of podcast or live show or whatever, this is definitely the way to go. Either this or Ecamm. I like both. If you have an Apple computer and that's kind of your whole area you work within, your whole environment is Mac, then Ecamm is good. But StreamYard would still work for you as well. Or otherwise, I recommend StreamYard. They make it very simple and very easy. And again, it kind of defaults to your system default, so it's not their fault that my audio got screwed up. But apparently, I have to jump through hoops and then check it and then double check it and then triple check it to make sure that everything is right. And again, that's more of a Windows thing or whatever. I'm sure the same thing will probably happen on Apple as well. It's not like it's just a Windows thing. I'm not picking on PCs and Apple, or Windows, because I like Windows. Like I said, I'm using a Windows computer right now, and I do it for most of my broadcast. That being said, some of my other broadcasts and interviews, like a lot of times when I do just interviews and I record them and I put them into a show, I do most of that through Ecamm. And that works out very well. And again, there's always learning curves for everything, but why does everything need to be so complicated? Like if you put something default in the system, then when the system reboots, it should put it back into the default, but it changes the default back to the default that it wants it to be. And this just doesn't make sense to me. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because, well, mail-in balloting, it's complicated and it shouldn't be. It should be easy to understand. It should be easy to do and not difficult. Now, I don't want to get into a huge political conversation right now, but I'll get into a little one. What happened is I had submitted a while back to get my mail-in ballot, like I've probably mentioned on here before, which I know I have. I've got small children, and the idea of me having to wait in line for potential hours to vote with two small children who are obviously going to have to use the bathroom like 4 times in that 2-hour period and everything else, I just can't do that. Like it's just not feasible for me, right? So I do, and I have for the last few elections done mail-in balloting, and it typically works pretty well. But I would say that the instructions for mail-in balloting were better previously than they have been this year. And in fact, I ran into a problem, and I'm still having the problem. I'm still trying to reach out and get an answer from somebody, technically. So this is my dilemma, right? Mail-in ballot is simple. It'll say fill in with a pen or pencil or marker, but fill in the circle completely and do not make any other marks on the ballot. Otherwise, it could be thrown out. Okay, fine. That's straightforward. The problem is there's certain categories where we say you have to pick a president, and you have your choices, and you just fill it out. And then for senator, same thing. And then representative, same thing. Problem is, After a while, you get to sections that are like judges. Now there's an entire whole judge sheet. I'm saying there's other judges that are included on only the county level, right? That for whatever reason they're separated. But on those areas, some categories, there's only one person running, and it says vote for one. Well, I don't want to vote for that person, right? I don't want to support that person. I don't want to cast a vote for them. So you think it would be simple. You think you would just, you don't fill it in. Well, I talked to someone who is actually an election judge who said, well, if you don't fill it in, they might throw it out. But they weren't 100% positive because it kind of changes from election to election. And again, I went through all the paperwork, couldn't find anything. I went on to the website, did the frequently asked questions, couldn't find anything. I reached out to them, which was the next to impossible to get a hold of someone, but I finally did. Guess what happened when I asked them? It should be okay, I think. That's the response I got. So now I'm in a dilemma. Like, do I just vote for someone that I don't want to vote for in categories I kind of care about, but I don't because it's the only person running. It's not like if I don't vote for them, they're not going to get elected. They're going to get elected. All they need is one vote. There's only one running. But I'd rather not cast a vote for them. So, do I run the chance of having my vote at all not counted because I didn't fill something in? Or do I fill something in and not feel good about it because I don't want to cast a vote for that person? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a dilemma because you think, well, this is a voting thing. And this is not some weird mass ballot voting thing like they're trying to do in California or they're doing in Nevada or other states where they haven't done it before and they're just trying to implement it last minute. This is a mail-in / absentee ballot that Illinois has been doing for years, and they have an entire system, and you have to request one, and then they have to verify who you are, and then they send it out to you, and they contact you, say, hey, we sent it out, and then when you mail it back in, they contact you again and say, hey, plus they have tracking abilities. You can go online and see where it's at, where it was last tracked at. So, it's a fairly standard system. So you would think they would have standard answers when it came to, do you have to fill out every single person? Because I know typically with president, you don't have to. Like if you don't want to vote for president, you don't have to. But it doesn't say that. And I even asked that too. And they're like, well, it should be okay. Well, we can't go off it should be. It's like, this is a very important election, right? And again, I guess for my vote, technically, it's not that important because since we do not have a straight democracy and we do have a representative republic with an electoral college, I live in a very blue state, like blue. I can't tell you how blue it is, but it's very blue. So it's going to go blue, or it's going to go for Democrats. So no matter who I vote for, I don't have to be concerned of my vote swinging anything within my state. So it's like, I guess from that aspect, I guess I shouldn't be too worried because then whatever, but I still want my vote to count, right? I want my vote to be casted. And it's just very difficult for me to accept the fact that where we're at now, like, why wouldn't things be more black and white? Like, why wouldn't they say, every circle must be filled in, or every section must be filled in, or, you do not have to fill out every section. Like, it should just be that simple. It's one sentence, right? And even then, when I talk to people who actually work for the election board, they can't answer it. And then when I talk to other people, when I contact them, they can't answer it. They give me like it should be. Well, there's a lot of, it should be is that don't turn out to be that way in life, isn't there? Imagine you go to do your taxes, right? Imagine you were to go and file your taxes, go meet with your accountant, and you had a business and things were kind of complicated, and you had a house and other properties, and you maybe had rental properties. You want to make sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, right? You want to make sure that you're not going to get in trouble from Uncle Sam. And you give all your information to your accountant, and then a week later, 2 weeks later, you come back to sign all the paperwork, and you're like, okay, so this is all figured out. This is good. And they're like, it should be. How confident would you feel, right? You wouldn't. You'd be very upset. You'd be very upset. Well, it shouldn't be any different when we're voting. Voting is very important. Again, like I said yesterday, it doesn't make a difference who you're voting for. You could be voting for a write-in person. It doesn't matter. And even then, I thought that was very strange. As I was going through all this documentation, trying to see if I could find an actual answer as to how the data should be dealt with when it came to what they do with the votes. At least where I live in my state and or my county, I'm not sure at what level this rule applies. But if you do a write-in ballot, like say you want to write in somebody because you thought they'd be a better candidate, whoever it might be, a celebrity or yourself or whoever, you know, that vote will not count towards that person unless that person applied to be a write-in person and has documentation to prove it. Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The whole point of a write-in ballot is that you just write in any name you want to, right? You could put Mickey Mouse in, but if Mickey Mouse didn't do the proper paperwork, their vote won't be counted. It's ridiculous. And now my computer's glitching again. Did you see that? Oh my God, everything is so complicated and screwed up, folks. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. One day I will actually go out and buy a real computer because apparently my Frankenstein computer is not up to the task anymore. And it's actually got a lot of beefy specs to it, but apparently I don't know if the hardware is just old or what have you. Could be a Chrome issue as well, or it could even be technically a cable issue, even though all my cables are new. Of course, it doesn't mean anything. Let's be honest, right? But yeah, so mail-in balloting should be simple. Like I said the other day, it's a nightmare scenario that we find ourselves in, and it shouldn't be. It should not be that way. Let's hope that things get better, and let's hope that things turn out far better than we ever imagined. Like I said, I'd be ecstatic if we knew who won on election day. I would be beyond ecstatic, but it's not going to happen. No matter what. I don't care if everyone was lying and everyone decided to vote for Trump and he had 90% of the votes. It doesn't make a difference. He will not be announced the winner that day, nor the next day. They're going to wait for all the ballots to be counted. And there's going to be a lot of headaches with that because people are going to start finding things and, oh, I found a tote here and I found a lockbox there. And, oh, look at what we have here. There's a whole van parked with votes, And that's another thing. I mean, I guess the only real way they could get around this is if no results were given. Like if all results were sent, but no results were, like every county couldn't talk to any other county and everyone just sent all the information. And once they said, we've got all our votes and they've counted and they locked it in, then only one group of people who were like this third party group of people who had no affiliation with anything, then they would release the results. Maybe. But even then people would still have a conspiracy and say, well, those people are lying or they're paid off or they're controlling or they're the Illuminati or what have you, right? That's what's going to happen. I guarantee it. So no matter what happens, it's not going to end well, people. It's just not. So, say your prayers, take your vitamins, get some sleep, and drink a lot. Like a lot. Excuse me, I had to get a sip of water. For those of you who are listening at home, and I'm going to say listening at home because that's what makes sense to me, even though it's not true. They're just on the podcast, audio podcast. And again, you call up. Okay, so do you consider a podcast only to be audio? It's an honest question. Like, do you? Because I don't really necessarily think that this way it should go. Like, because a podcast was a podcast because it's all we had at the time. Then we had video podcasts or video casts or vidcasts or whatever, but they're so common now. They're actually almost as common as an audio podcast, if not more so. But yet half the time they are audio podcasts on top of the exact same, material. So do you call one a podcast and one a broadcast? Do you call one a podcast, one a vidcast? Do you just call them all podcasts? I'd be very, very curious to know your personal view. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, there just isn't. Right? You can do whatever you want. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call everything a podcast, even though it's video, right? I just do. Like look at Joe Rogan. He's like the biggest podcast in the world by far, I think. And he does all his as a video cast and they're still listed as podcasts. So there you go. I think it's a good place to start, at least when it comes to judging these sort of things. So now that we've gotten completely off topic, I just want to remind everyone that with the election coming up, because, and again, I'll have to do this every single day because I see the way people are freaking out constantly. And people are freaking out. And it is understandable to some extent because, well, frankly, it's a scary time, right? I mean, we've had such a bad year. We've had 2020, and 2020 has been I don't want to say it's been a nightmare, but it's been pretty close. A lot of people lost their jobs. People couldn't get work. People didn't have money. Then we got a little bit of money from the government, and then we got supposed to get more, and that never happened, which screwed over a lot of people. A lot of people are losing their homes or getting evicted from their apartments or their houses they rent. I mean, most people were struggling before our economy crashed. due to COVID-19. And it hasn't gotten much better, right? A poor turnout for this election, or a poor result, or poor handling, more so than anything, something where people are not going to have the confidence that you would hope that they would have. It's going to be an issue. It's going to be a huge, huge issue. At the end of the day, at the end of everything, it's just going to be a huge issue. So be patient. Try not to think about it too much. In fact, maybe starting, I won't say tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to be doing Talking Sports, but on Thursday, maybe I won't talk about the election so much. Or maybe we will, but we won't do it like in such a doomsday sort of environment, right? Let's be positive, right? Maybe on election day, everyone could have a bunch of small, well, I don't want to say parties because that'd probably be bad to everyone have congregate places, but maybe have Zoom parties. That was a thing for a while. People would have like Zoom dinners and Zoom wine tasting and things like that. Well, maybe we should have just that sort of thing. Just get together with people who are like-minded, regardless if you're on the left or regardless on your right. Just get to people, or people you feel comfortable talking politics with, where you're not going to be too concerned of fights starting. Get together in these Zoom rooms and talk. Just have a good time. Get a bottle of wine, maybe make a nice dinner, just turn off the TV. Don't put on CNN, don't put on Fox News, don't put on MSNBC, don't put on ABC, NBC, CBS. Don't put any of those on. Just don't. Because they're only going to try to suck you in to make you feel like the world's ending. So on those days, on that day, and do not watch it. And maybe next morning, wake up, take an aspirin or whatever you got to do for your headache, and check the headlines and see what the world is saying, what the media is saying. Maybe even go on something more neutral, like, and I can't even say like Reuters or AP anymore, because they're not. They're just not neutral. I read the stories all the time, and they're so biased. But maybe get perspectives of people outside the country, right? Maybe go to like the BBC, Al Jazeera. Go to those sources and then kind of see what they're saying about the election. And maybe that will hopefully put you or me or any of us or all of us at ease. But again, the day of the election, don't freak out, because you're going to want to freak out. I'm going to want to freak out. We're all going to want to freak out. Let's just hopefully everyone can stay safe and sane and wait this out. And hopefully we get results as fast as humanly possible. Amen? Amen. All right, everybody. Well, we are coming to the end of our show, and that can only mean one thing. You know what time it is. It's time for our happy ending. Now, again, for those of you who do not know, a happy ending is simply a short video I found on TikTok, Instagram, blah, 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 blah. And I should play it for you guys to see. And it's usually something funny or cute or just something to, distract you. That's kind of the whole idea of this whole thing, right? So anyways, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And we won't be here tomorrow on Wednesday, but we will be doing Talking Sports with Kevin and Mikey over on Whatever with Kevin channel. Or again, like I said, it'll be cross-posted in some places, so you might see it here, depending upon where you're at. But yeah, check it out. It'll be fun. If you like sports, even if you don't, it's going to be two old friends hanging out, talking about ridiculous things in sports. So it'll be fun. But yeah, other than that, you guys have a good one, and we will see you tomorrow.
Be careful. Holy shit, dude. What is that thing? What is it? Why are you here? What do you want? Yeah, what do you want? Yeah, what are you here? No way. No one invited you. You're not welcome. This is our space. We don't just show up at your home acting weird. Yeah, quit being so weird. Why is it being so weird? Stop being so fucking weird. Say something! Dogs. The fuck? What?